What up, everybody? Welcome. It is Monday, February 12th, or it's Tuesday for some of you people on the other side of the world. It's your daily fix with NFAOFC, not financial advice, of frickin' course. I have a lot of things I'm going to name at you right now. We're going to cover today. Hey, everybody. Um, we're going to go over our money flow cycle like we usually do, market cap, dominance, Bitcoin, and ETH. And then here we go. We're going to go over Kusama, Cosmos, Phantom, Dojin, Near, just to check and see what happened last week. Then we're going to talk about Link for 22 Targaryen, PYR, and GMT for NDO. And then we're going to talk about some gaming tokens because that was brought up a little bit today, which I thought was pretty interesting. Supreme had suggested one, and so did Northern Killer on. So we're going to take a look at those, and that was a whole lot of coins I just threw at you in a minute. So Pope, there you go, buddy. How's it
What a
going?
great day.
Welcome back. How was your weekend?
It was great. Actually took the time to touch grass like I said I was going to. Watched a little bit of the Super Bowl. It was nice. Not my team, so I didn't care that much. But it's one of those things. Here's something I want to point out because I had this asked to me a lot in some DMs. If you're fast trading, if you're going in and getting out, taking those percentages and holding back, yeah, on those weekends where things pump, you're going to have that FOMO, or damn it, I wish I left it in there. Or you're like, the indicators were saying just as fast as they can go up, they can come down. And it's your strategies, how you want to incorporate them. For longer trades, absolutely. We ride these in and out. Did I leave some profits on the table this weekend because I cashed out early or late Friday night, I guess? Yeah, absolutely. But I cashed out over 8%. I can't complain
Nice.
with that.
Nice.
Right. So, and I know there's always going to be retracements, which we're seeing right now in the market. So if you did feel like you missed out, there's always another trade. And if you have part of your budgets for longer holds, you're doing okay because those are already there. And some of these tokens, if you watched when I was doing some of the markups live streaming, some of these we called back then. And we're going to go over their usual coins that she all just mentioned, the Crypto Katie, and I'm stoked to get at it and show you a few things. So we said when we first were going to start back, we had a lot of squiggles and lines from when we first started. And we said it's time to, recap and relook at everything and where we're at. And we had a significant amount of money entering the market. And we haven't been in this ballpark in a long, long time. And at the beginning of last week, I did mention it was time. A large amount of money was about to come in. It was time. It's been doing this. The indications were there. The tools were saying it was coming, and it did. And awesome. So let's look at what all this means and where we're at currently. And I'm going to kind of do it as, quick and dirty, rough, as we always say. And on the weekly, support here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance, resistance. We want to see if we consolidate or break this and land on top, because then we're off. We need to kind of watch what's going on now in this area with our total market cap. And when we lay over, we still have off to the races on our micro bull indicator, but we also have critical greed firing. So it's an interesting position. So it just means we're probably going to have pullbacks, but we're now going to start working up to these different levels. And just by looking at them, it makes sense. We always say they're round numbers, 9.5, 969 degens. The 1.9, and it's going to take a while to get into those twos, which are somewhere probably right there. Look at that. And we'll drop one more in there. Why not? So on the weekly, things look good. On the daily, it's going to make sense. We're going to have some pullback. We didn't get that pullback over the weekend. We saw it injected. Definitely a ton today. Probably just as much today as we did in the last three. So if you got in our Sunday or Monday, what a great time to get in the market. And that's something you have to think about if you're on the Pacific Coast. You should be looking at the Mondays, not our Sundays, for market entries. I assume that was common knowledge. I apologize. So this is where we're looking, and it would make sense that money would pull out. How do we watch that? We go down on the lower time frames, because if we're in trades, we know we want to watch this, and we can tell right now it's holding. It's holding that right there. Not saying it's going to hold it forever, but then on the 4-hourly, we can start to see where our next levels of where it might start to mellow out at again. Our dominance did exactly what we wanted to see it do. Look at that dive. In the last 4 hours, we just had a massive alt run by the look of it. Man, I got to get this IRL stuff done. This is what we were hoping for. We wanted it sooner. And hopefully it comes. We want our dominance to come down. We said we're going to take everything off.
There's a lot of stuff with big green candles pumping over the weekend. So it's not surprising to me that the market cap went up at all.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It pumped because the market cap went up. We only really saw a lack of dominance, which is what we really want for the alt pumps, today. But of course, they all pumped over the weekend, which was nice. So speaking of pumping, Bitcoin, beautiful. When we were talking Bitcoin, we were saying it has the potential to take a big green candle or walk its way up. And on the weekly, if it was going to walk its way up, its resistance was going to be in here that we were tracking then. And we had the rectangle here. Now it's at that 50, that even number. So let's look at Bitcoin a little more seriously today to mark it up for the next couple of weeks and where we think things might start to happen with Bitcoin. And we'll go in there. So this is now our area, most likely, of price action. We'll go right to the top of that candle.
Supreme saying Bitcoin 30% in 21 days.
Love it. And I'm happy to hear we're hearing from Supreme. Curious how his holiday was. I won't dox you. I heard you went somewhere nice. And we can see we had this other weekly consolidation that we had last time in our chat here. We'll take the wicks again. Why not? And then we can probably guess our next one on the upward trend is going to be in here. Now, it's probably going to take longer. We know we're going to have these ups and downs. This is the weekly. One candle of these is huge for amounts of time. So I don't want to cluster up because I'm trying to keep it always as simple as we can now for our trend lines and our patterns. And we always go off the last candle. Well, there's top or the bottom. Yeah. Ooh. Interesting.
Why are you choosing? Why were you choosing to put the bottom one going up the other way than we usually go? Why is that
This
one
one here?
stopping at that? Yeah, why is that one stopping at that candle up there at the top?
It's just more of a localized low. Like I can still see it's there, but then by doing that, we have to go to our last low there. I mean, you
Oh,
can
it's the
do either
last
or.
low. I was looking at the one at the top, like the last low. That's why you chose that one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, the
Yeah.
last low. So I'm going low to low, and the longer they are, the more strength they have. So going back to here, but it was virtually the same from what it looked like to me. But I can leave it like that; makes no difference.
Either way, yeah.
It's
Thanks.
still going. So let's get back on the daily. It's nice to have that bump. Like we got in this consolidation and we've settled above the weekly trend. We know we're going to have some pullback in price. We just took a ton of price action in that time. 17.25% roughly to right now. That's huge. 8 days. From our last little area consolidation, we want to consolidate right now. We want to have a little bit of pullback, consolidate, and if we can stay above this weekly trend line for the week, we are off. Just like we've been saying, it can rocket. Needs to stay in here. This is the daily. That weekly still holds on the daily. We've definitely on the daily have a massive up. Like, let's be honest. So it makes sense right now. And look how steep that is, that we're going to have a pullback. And we'll probably start to, like we just said, consolidate in this area a bit. That being said, a ton of money can come off and we can start retesting again. Bitcoin can do whatever it wants.
So is there
This is what
I mean, so would you say there's I mean, not that you know this exactly or for sure, but like there's a possibility we could come down and blow right through that weekly trend line again.
absolutely, the fact that it held here shows a lot of strength on the weekly trend there, and on the consolidation this has been showing a lot of resistance. So I would think it would probably finally turn into support in that
Right.
47,000 area, is what I would think. Holding the downward line would be the harder to do. I'd love to see it, but it could just have a tiny little pullback and then off again. And that's, like I said, the crazy thing with Bitcoin, because if we back up in this space, it didn't take long to get through it. Lots of consolidations here in this area. And that's why these areas are a little vacant, because it happens fast. So it's always nice to take these ups, consolidate, take ups. Here you can see the channel there, consolidate, take ups. So I kind of sound like a broken record at the moment, but I want to see is consolidation in here, support along this line, and probably resistance right here. That's all healthy. Not saying I wouldn't like to see it go through here, retest, and stay in here. And not to say it can't come out and retest above here either. And that's where the money flow and watching the money coming in and going out will determine. And it stands to me to make sense that because we've had all these ups, we'll have some downs or consolidation. And it makes sense because we say what usually travels between 3 to 6% sometimes, but average around 3.5%. There's your 3.5%. Love that shit. So I wouldn't be surprised a little bit of retracement if we don't see money in. If we see the money in, we're going to contest this level. If not, we're fighting for support here. And all it takes, as we know sometimes, is bad news and it'll go down. I mean, I even saw a post on Twitter to say that it was going to go to 10,000. It's like, it's possible, sure. But the likelihood, like it's always, remember what you read, the sources, and do your own research. So we know the purple is weekly consolidation. And right now that's giving us enough information on the daily that I don't want to cluster it anymore. We're expecting a pull down to this range somewhere in the high 48s and fight in here. That's what I'd say. I mean, Ethereum, I wish I didn't erase that actually. We've been nailing this call since the show started. But now we've had a tremendous up. And look at where we're at up in here now. Now, I don't think Ethereum's had its day yet still. But the alts are getting the focus. That's on the 4. Okay, cool. We can see it has been a while since we've been in this price zone. We just dragged that from over there and look where it's at. It's just sitting on it. This is a daily. Let's not get that confused with a weekly. We have your parallel channel up right there. 3 touches. Your new localized high. 1, 2, 3. Making sense is pulling down. Now it's hanging in here. Kind of a weak double bottom. Not actually quite a double bottom because of that. Now I'm just fighting for it. But we're gonna have some pullback. It makes sense. We've had, if you felt like you FOMO'd now, or if you missed out and you now have money on the sidelines, we're coming up to sale days. How long that's last, we haven't put the indicators over yet, and we'll find out with our confluence. We are on the daily. And we're just going to drop a couple in. Because it's been a while since we've said that we've been in here. All right, that's probably enough right there. Now, what does our confluence say, which I just realized we hadn't done for Bitcoin? We still have nice micro bulls saying we have room to run. Normal health back, normal retracement, healthy. What do you think we're going to bounce between if it's going to do anything in here? In here? Try to retest here, just like it did there. Most likely what'll happen. Unless we see these really start to take off, like we always say, with the total market cap being increased. And so far, if you have been watching us from the beginning, we've nailed Ethereum. It's been great. Oh yeah, we did put Confluence on. Yeah. Okay. Oh no. Speaking of some of our calls, I always just like to go over them quickly from where we did, just if anybody is still in them. 0.37506. We caught it on a limit buy on this wick. We thought it would be the day over, but we still got it. And say you didn't time it. Well, let's go from what we actually are to now. You're up 16.36%. Hopefully you took some profits here and there and got in. Same thing. I think there's going to be, more run, obviously, for Kasama. Makes sense to have a little pullback, which we're having, and then still looks like we're off to the races some more. So Kasama still looking good if you're in it. Possible entry if you're still in it and you want to get out, take some profits. Nobody would fault you. Phantom, I mean, same thing. From our point of entry to current price today, 12.47. We got that cross damn near where we thought it was going to happen. And we know we're off to the races with some healthy pullback. Look how much it fought up. When it came down. That's strength. When the price comes down that far on a support and resistance, and then comes all the way back up and go higher, and it's pretty much engulfing this candle. It's an engulfing candle virtually. That's bullish. We're off. Makes sense we're having a pullback. Phantom's another one. If you're not in, zoom in. Looks like in the next few hours, we're going to get a decent entry on Phantom, according to the switch coming for the micro bear. Wait a little bit, and that's why we zoom in. Wait a little bit, enter, and on the daily, we still look like we're off to the races with some stops. But if you're trading on the daily, don't fear these daily retracements. This isn't get in, get out, stack the capital 1%, 2% style of trading. This, we're looking at long term to get back over here. Our goal was this 55% from whenever the heck we did this, and we're on path. Here's our entry, off we go. Cosmos was a new one, Adam, that was asked and talked about just recently. And our entry was right in the middle. You would have caught your wick right there for your limit entry. Would have caught it on this day. And we're doing exactly what we want to do, is walk up that to these levels of the weekly resistance. From our entry that we called on this a few days ago to now, you're already at 4.62%. Not bad. Can't remember who shared that with us to have a look at it. Thank you. Hello. So a couple more we looked at recently was Near and Doge. Obviously, if you were in Near, you saw the hella run we had this weekend with it. And from our call of getting in and out in this area, which we used a rectangle that time, I'm not sure why we did that. But that was our entry rectangle. I don't think we had the circle set up by then. And it's off. And it makes sense with all this up, it's going to pull down. And if you zoom in on a shorter time frame, yeah, and we've been having these nice curl overs. Wait a bit. I mean, there's still 34 minutes. Watch what happens on the next candle. It'll come over, probably retest this line in here, because this is a weekly. And if it can hold that, that's strength, and we're off to the races. If you got in where we're called and you haven't taken, what is that profit? Just out of curiosity, where's that rectangle? I gotta look it up. There, yeah. To current price, 12%. Okay. So another one was Doge that we were just asked to do. And our entry was right here. I'm going to get rid of our risk reward. Right. And even right now to where we are from our entry that we talked about, 1.24%. A little bit of pullback makes sense. We still just have that cross. And if it can continue to walk up, it's in good position. Right. Probably won't be long till Elon makes a tweet or something about it.
Either for or against.
I don't think it'll ever be against, but it'll be probably another one of like one of these candles here kind of a thing. Like when those kind of things happen, Doge moves fast. But I mean, compared to some of our calls, yeah, it's a little slower, a little behind, but it's still in profits. And I mean, that wasn't one we were looking for; it was requested. So there's also that. Chainlink. Speaking of requested. Oh, Targaryen, here you are. Finally, it's your time. So we're on the daily. We have some minimalist, which I like to see. TA done. We know these areas are areas of support, resistance, consolidation. And where it looks to, or where it's looked like it, to where it's going to get next. So right where it's on right now, support and resistance on the weekly. And we're not putting them on these ones because we know the consolidation box is at support resistance. That's enough for the weekly. So we can see we've had a massive up. Our micro bull is, yeah, we're off to the races. Our critical greed fired, and look at the down we had. Little bit of consolidation on the weekly, and we're off again. We never really got that hard curl till in here, and look at the drop it had. And then immediately corrected itself, and it's still off. But we know we've all seen the news. There's been lots of money taken. Don't be exit liquidity. Don't enter right now if you're not in.
Would that if you can go back to where you just were, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that would that be considered an engulfing candle there? Kind of, I can't even describe to you. Like right
this
there,
one here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just implying kind of hefty recovery?
Over the candle. Sorry.
Oh, I was just. I keep going.
The body, like if you check the sheets, I don't have them in front of me. I believe the body of the green has to encompass both wicks, so it's not really actually engulfing, and then vice versa. It is my full understanding. I would have to double check, to be honest. I play more support, resistance, and indicators, parallel channels, probably why I play with them more. And then more zoomed out, like teacups, double bottoms, top hats, all that stuff I gave out. I find that helps a little more. But great question. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure engulfing has to go from wick to wick.
Okie dokie.
Does that answer what you were looking for?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. So that was our weekly, fighting that line. No big surprise. This here is our breakout of this trend. This is the retest, which I'm pretty safe to say there's 5 days left. Yes, it could all come crashing down, but all things are saying no. So this is where logic and strategy comes into it a little more too. And when we zoom in on the daily, lots of nice ups and downs consolidation. That's beautiful. Now we've taken off, consolidated, taken off. This is where I'm saying we want to consolidate again. And the only real way to know when we go back in time, we want to look for our daily support and resistance in this area of where we're at. We have down here, but the price is above it now. Let's make this a little easier. So we can see we have these areas of resistance there, or sorry, support when it comes down. And we're on the daily. So there's one there. You can kind of split wicks. I tend to see if I can, lots of shooting through, and that's why I don't want to shoot, just do wicks if I'm always using bodies, because we can see in the area that we're in right now, there's one right there, but it took a long time to find that. 21. Makes sense that we're going to hit it, and there's a little one right there. But we have to go back a long time to find those. So that means majority of the time we've been rifling through that. And what are these areas? Just use this one for now. Current price, 2.2, 4.16, 6.59. Knowing that the gold is a weekly because we change our colors, we know that's going to be a hard one to break at 9.48, and then the same again there. But we're in that trend. We're in that upwards trend. Lots of money has come in, lots of ups. We want to see this consolidation in here, and then we're up again. And that is also what our indicators are telling us. On the 4 hour, look at this area of consolidation. It needs to hold this, or it is going to come down and retest this. It needs to hold this, or it's coming down to here. If I was looking to get in Chainlink right now, I wouldn't. If I was looking to get in on the long term, I'm going to hold this for a long time. I'm just going to wait, see this next little pullback in here. Then I'll enter and I'll forget about it. But if you're doing the trading where we're talking about get in, get out, hold the smaller percentages, it needs to hold a few things here. This is where I'd be watching and patience, because it is telling us it's coming down. It would make sense that it's gonna, with all the money coming in. People are gonna get this early of the week greed. Oh, I missed out. Curious to see how much money leaves the market in the next day or two because of that. Maybe none. So for Link, if Targaryen's here, I hope that answers her questions. If not, you can always ask more in the Discord if you're watching this a little later. But it'll be interesting to see if it can hold this level here. It needs to. The 4 hour will definitely give us a lot of information if it can. Might be an indication of a turn right here. It's one, if I was in, I would be taking profits. If I was looking to enter, I would be waiting a little bit. And the only reason if I would be in taking profits is short-term trading. I love Link. Link runs so many things. I've talked about this before. If you're holding it long-term, these kind of little pullbacks don't even affect you.
That was a yes, thank you from 22
Awesome.
Targaryen.
Glad to hear. Not trying to rifle through a lot of this, but there's a lot of tokens asked for and a few others to talk about. So we're just a little over halfway. And I'm trying to get into as many of them as we can. If you watched the videos of where I was doing TA, how I mark up support and resistance and that in the beginning, I talked about Beam early, and we had a hella entry on Beam, and it took off this weekend. This was actually the one I cashed out on Friday, and same with Big Time. I believe gaming tokens and Layer 2 Bitcoin, which was our stacks, and gambling tokens, which is a couple of these that are on here, Blockchain Bets and BTT and BetSwap, are going to be big players this runs. And we can see on the smaller time frame on Big Time, or sorry, on the daily time frame, we just got our cross. We can see how much it ran up. It makes sense. There's going to be some pullback, like we've been saying. There it is, starting to curl, like starting to consolidate. We haven't had a down in quite a while. Doesn't mean it's coming. Wednesday of last week was the last micro bear. And the Wednesday prior. It needs to continue to consolidate so we avoid that curl and we're off to the races. I believe that gaming is having its run right now, and we've only just begun. Big Time, near these ones we've been talking about, these are also all my long-term holdbacks. But like I said, there's two different styles of trading. You can get in, get out, take the percentages, stack your percentages. And then there's the slow. Buy them in, wait for good entries, set and forget, and we'll check them in a few months. Big Time, I'm going to leave alone for marking up, because I don't think it was a direct question. I think Beam was. Do you know, Kate?
Beam was, I think, Big Time was something that Supreme threw out there a little while ago. So just kind of threw it on there for the gaming tokens.
Great gaming token. Big fan myself. It's why it's on the list. You can do the coin market cap, look into it. Big Time has a massive infrastructure. They've got a great games on it. It's pretty cool. I have a lot of faith in Big Time. It is volatile. It is a volatile price, which is nice when you're good at getting in and out, but also very nice for long holds in the long run.
I think it was Northern Killer that brought us Beam X.
Nice.
Great name. Thanks. Great name.
This is a token on a massive sphere. This has been on the list for a while. This is the one I said when we were doing the TA, when we first started this. If you got in, you got some very healthy profits, because that was in, when did we do it? It was in here somewhere. So if you got in, I'd have to go back and watch, but I mean, we'll take the worst case scenario at that high. You'd be up 50%. Obviously, on the daily, we're expecting to see some pullback with the narrative going on right now, and depending on how fast the market cap is coming back and forth, it might start to be longer holds. Right now, the influx of money and the output of money has been very fast, whereas the last major bull run, it would stay in for a few days or longer. I'm hoping we get to see that again in this bull run. We haven't quite yet. This weekend was the first time where we've seen quite a few days of it rocket up to significant numbers. We haven't been this high in a while. Also, the S&P hit its all-time high not too long ago. We can always see this level here, and we always say consolidation leads to breakout. So for Beam on the daily, we need to see some consolidation or a little pullback and then off, like these healthy curls we keep talking about. I am a big fan of Beam, just like I have been with stacks. I would be looking, if you were on the long-term gain, I'd be looking for another healthy retracement. Even on the 4-hour, it looks like we're good to go. 2-hour, we're starting to have a little pullback. We can see this consolidation area here on the 2-hour. It would make sense we're going to be somewhere in here, which also makes sense because that was a localized high. So on the 2-hour time frame, we want to be holding in here. And I don't think I have a 2-hour. We'll stick with the 1-hour. We want to be holding in this area on the 2 hours. Sorry, my mouse and screen. That's our support and resistance. We've come through it. We're coming back. We would like to, on the 2 hours, settle out with outside of this. If we can't, where it's fighting right now, it's going to come down again, possibly to this area or this area, and then quite possibly to here. So on Beam, if I'm watching to enter Beam, I'm really watching the 2 hours closely, so you're not getting lost in the smaller time frames. Because in the 4, we've still got some decent pullback and lots of legs. When we talk about our micro bull indicator doing this, we know price action is going up. So right now, what we're discussing is where's the best entry. Are we going to pull back to here? 28244. Two 28244, we said. Look where that is. It's right there. We've had it up with a healthy curl. We might not see this back. It might be right where it is. We might get our next little one of these. Here, and then it might just be here. And then it might be here. That is healthy. That one's a little longer. That one's a little longer. That one's very similar. Obviously, you can start to see where these little patterns are, but trust your indicators. It is saying we're coming into a little bit of a curve on the 1 hour. But we know on the 4, we're off to the races. On the day, off to the races. Over greed, critical greed, overbought. Makes sense. We'll have another little bit of a pullback.
Is that somewhere where you would enter there up, or would that be too late for you?
No, I'm waiting for retracement on Beam. Beam's going to have a little bit of a pull down. Do I want to get on Beam again for another quick trades in and out? Absolutely. But I also have this, like I said, long-term bags and dollar cost average. Would I be getting in right now to add to my long-term bags either? No, I think we'll have a little bit of a pull down. But I mean, all indicators are telling us it's off again. When I say pull down, I'm not thinking within a few days. I was saying within these hour time frames. I want to see the next retest on this consolidation. If we get a retest on top of this, we're off to the races. If we don't, we're having pull down. So this is where I'm looking for the retest. If we get it, this is where I'm looking for an entry. If we don't, this is probably where I'm looking for an entry. Make sense?
It sure does.
Sweet. Moving right along to what you were asking about. Vulcan Forge, PYR. This just got, it's bullish. It's bullish cross. We are going into a micro bull. And we've had tremendous action up from the curve. So if we go to here to right now, 20%, 6 days, makes sense we're having a pullback, right? if people are riding that out from this entry, we're going for 63. So we can see all this compression. Nice ups, nice pullbacks. Where are my tools? Nice ups, consolidation, pullback, ups. And then here we went down, which would make sense. Now we're holding this level here, because if you did get in here, why wouldn't you be cashing out up here? I mean, right?
I don't think I would have the guts to wait that long. I'd have to just go on the weekly and look at the. Sorry.
We have all the indicators here telling us we've got legs to run. Here, if you got in here and got out here, would make sense. That's massive profit. If you sold on critical greed, you're still up 36. Wait for the consolidation, the factor again. And if we look at I'm so glad you picked this one. I love Vulcan board. If we start to look at patterns, we can see our bullish wedges. Up, little triangle, retest, up, little triangle, retest, up. And now this one's a big triangle, right? There's our in rough. So that's what I'm seeing quickly. And we're going to chart that out in a couple of moments here. But this is an old token. So we can start to go back to these areas of consolidation over a long history of time. And look how much this has been in. Now, this is big movement in price, but it's been in this consolidation for a long time. We've just broken out of this consolidation. Now we're in this next phase. Make sure we're on the daily. Let's go right to the bottom there. So support and resistance, where we think we'll have our steps up and our steps down.
See, I would have included those top parts of the candles on the left-hand side, which is maybe part of my problem.
Right here?
On the left,
this
like
is where on here?
Yeah.
See, majority of price, that we want to look at the majority of price, right? We have a lot more days down here. Like we could have done this. Like I said, you could absolutely, you could go here to here. You go to here to here.
There's just more room right? To have to look at then.
Yeah. And this is a lot more time now to get from here to here. But this is what we're looking to do. We're trying to get back up to here. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And the support and resistance just lays out our steps to how long that's going to take. That's why I say there's no real right or wrong, as long as you're finding you're doing the same on the tops and the bottoms, or if you're using the wicks. Don't just use wicks and then candle bodies and switch back and forth. I like using bodies because that's the majority of the price action. So even within now this triangle or rectangle here, it's more of our height. We can, until we start moving in the future, we can say this is the majority of our price action. But you can see in the localized future that there was it. And now we've created this support. It came back, retested, and now it's up here. So now it's fighting to stay here, right? support resistance there. That's where it's fighting to stay now. And then this next area in here is where it needs to break out. What do our indicators say? It's going to hold and take off. There'll probably be a little retracement. Absolutely. And how do we find out where that would be? We zoom in a little more. If we took it down to the twos, and we can see how these, when they hit, happen. Look how much is coming down. Look how much it goes up. This is a volatile token, like I said earlier. So it makes sense that we'll probably now on the lower time frames get down to some of these levels. Will it kiss this resistance here? Probably. It's a volatile coin. So if I was looking to get into Vulcan Forge, I'd be looking at this $6.03 range. Unless, like I said, a ton of money starts coming in, it consolidates above this line. It looks like it's going to take off. This is where you have to watch if you're looking at trading in and out on smaller time frames, because right now it's holding. And the next candle could be green. We're off to the races when we get a spread. That shows significant strength pulling back up from there. This is showing pressure. We probably have a slight parallel channel forming, and then it's going to go. Now, this indicator, remember, just says it's going to get to this line. It hasn't yet from when this fires. And it's only right 70% of the time. If this starts to curl and it comes down, it makes sense. And right, like I said earlier, might make sense to have a $6.30 limited buy. Vulcan Forge is very much a volatile token, though. But there's lots of profits to be made in those volatilities. And it's one that I find holding in the longer term is a little more profitable and easier to trade, because if you're not really good with watching fast wicks and percentages move and you're new to this, don't try to change. If you see these kind of things on the dailies, this indicates a lot of volatility. And so when you zoom in and try to fast trade that, you have to be really good. It's easier to hold a token with these kind of patterns just for a longer game, because we've already seen, say if we get into here on a pullback, which may or may not be likely, and we get up to the height of that candle body, it's 44%. Don't look at the days, because we know it's going to take, what did this take to get to from our high here to our lowest low there was 35 days. Consolidation period was roughly the same. So it would stand to make sense that to get back up to this range might take about a month. But what was that percentage again? Just take it from price now. I'll take 32 some odd percent in a month. Why not? All right. So if you were looking at getting in Vulcan Forge, I would definitely zoom on the lower time frames and look for those areas of support and resistance, like we've talked about. Or like I said, if I was myself personally looking at getting into this, I would probably put my bid, and I'll mark it, and we may miss it. And that's the thing. Sometimes when you do these, I got to be on lock, aren't I? We're not always right. Sometimes our limit entries miss, and there's only a slight pullback. But when we're playing on the shorter time frames, this is why you have to watch more, and you have to use your judgment. If does its dip, consolidate, and it's off, grab it. I think we'll probably have a little bit of a pullback. If you want to play a little safe and make sure you get it, put it in right about there. So it's 609. And then play the waiting game. And if you don't want to play the best entry game, just grab it when you want and hold it. And that's what some people do because that's the level of time or involvement or knowledge that they have. But this one over time, decent token. I was happy you picked it.
I've got the noob eye, my friend.
You found some bangers. You have found some bangers, absolutely. So
Got my own personal hit list.
I think the hardest part is when you wait for the retest, but it goes up without you. Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
those do hurt. And that's the hard part about raging bulls. Sometimes that pullback is the only one. And that's why watching when we start to go into watching the market cap so heavily, because we know it's been coming in and like, look at that we got over there, fabulous. Where is it? And when that money is coming in this fast over these times, sometimes the pullbacks are quite small. And it's using your intuition, trusting your indicators, and playing with money you're willing to, if you're wrong, isn't going to affect you, good and go.
You've got to look quickly at GMT. Because that one was asked about on Discord today.
Yep. And we've got a few minutes. All right. So on the weekly, GMT is, I can't remember the name of the ecosystem. Came out a while ago with an app called STEPN, and you got rewarded their token the more you exercise, and took off in the beginning. And then I don't know everything that happened. And it's just done this, which was also through the NFT bear at that point. It's done a little blip, and we're in here. So this is a higher risk, absolutely. We do have I'm having my C words.
Compression?
No, well, yes, absolutely in here.
Capitulation?
Thank you. That's the one we were looking for. So we have the nice down, we have the compression, but we also have a possibility of a micro bear to come. Now, big ups. Makes sense that we've had some pullback, could be supporting here. Be just some consolidation time and off to the races again. Absolutely is what it could be. We don't have, when we zoom in on our indicator, it's tight, but we don't have that, and we don't have that. And we know when these get tight, typically we get compression, and then when we get compression, it leads to breakouts. So this is on the weekly. And I'm going to go from a localized high of recent as opposed to the massive line from way back. Weekly, yes. So even the technical analysis saying it needs to hold. It's one of those ones, if I was in it and I was up in profits, I'd probably be out. It needs to hold this line, and it needs not to walk down this line and continue up. Let's see what it says on the daily. Ooh. So let's look without indicators. Much different picture on the daily. I'll use a parallel channel this time. On the daily, it seems to be holding the same weekly support, except for down here, which isn't too worrisome because we've seen it's wicked out to their little more support here or in these two next areas. But this seems to be fairly strong. As we know, this this is your retest right in here on the daily. And if it can hold this area, you're good to go, which ironically is on the weekly as well, which it's fighting. It didn't even make it past it in today's so far, but the day is young, 20 hours left. But that's a tough line to break because it's on the weekly. Healthy up. Absolutely healthy up. Makes sense, a little bit of pullback. Lots of down lately. Be nice to see a little compression and take off is kind of what that says to me personally on a TA level.
22 Targaryen is asking, I'm going to interrupt you a second. Why is the trend line not on the current highest high, but on the previous highest high? Is that to find the retest? Always use the previous highs?
Oh, sorry. I gotta read it. That's
yeah.
Why is the trend line not on the current highest high?
I mean, I wonder if you mean the parallel channel or.
Yeah, because the yellow's the weekly and we're on the daily right now. So if you're getting the yellows mixed up with the dailies, maybe is that
the weekly trend line. So maybe it was back on the weekly they were talking about.
All right, so I'll jump back to the weekly.
Sometimes it is hard to choose in my mind when I'm looking at it what peak we're supposed to choose, and I think maybe each peak tells you something different, but.
So why didn't I go up to here? Didn't change anything.
Oh, so you just could.
Why didn't I go up to there? I could have. And then now we're off to the races with a lot more in here. I tend to go with the more localized, which was that one there, because it seemed to me very similar. Or sorry, it was that one. Actually, it was that one. And then I said you could use that one. The majority of the price action, this is when.
So not where you begin the trend line, but where you end the trend line.
Where I end the trend line.
Okay? Yeah.
So now, because I've been moving around, it's altered. So when I'm taking it from its highest point where it shifted from the upwards trend to the downward trend, it goes off the last day's candle. So this,
which very well might cut through. Maybe we'll cut through that that retest that already happened then.
Yeah, because this retest is from the daily here.
Yeah.
Right. That's because it's gray and it just happens to be following right along with the weekly. And that's where it can get. That's why it's important to have separate colors for me. Or if you don't want to look at daily and weekly together, now we can just do weekly.
But even in that trend line that you've got right there, that's cutting right through. And that looks like a retest to me, cutting through that yellow line, is it not? Because it's going out of it and then back.
What's cutting through?
I'm going to read this. Okay, so you end it towards your last candle. I didn't know that was making lines differently. Dude, me too sometimes. all about the last candle, they say. So
Yeah, and then so we're going from the tops when we're at the top. And here, when we're doing this, I'm going from your lows. Now, not to say you can't go off your highs, but you can see it's virtually the same there.
right.
And it
right.
is. It's all retesting in here. The part in TA is a lot of it is also sticking to the same. Like I said, you can do wicks. You can go, as we showed earlier, bigger rectangles. But if you switch that all the time and you never use the same principle, it doesn't work that way. You have to stick with what you're doing the same on every timeline on everything. So if you're using wicks, use wicks everywhere. Using candle bodies, use candle bodies everywhere. That becomes more the important thing. And then don't force it. If it's not there, if the trade isn't there, don't force it. Don't try to fit your TA to what is happening. So on a weekly right now for GMT, this here is your retest. You have 5 days to go. It broke trend. Will it keep breaking trend? Tough to tell. The indicators are saying compression. Absolutely. And
They say
knowing
so
what I know about,
sorry, go ahead. Knowing what you know. Go ahead.
well, everything I know about this token is it's a fairly high risk token. You know, they've had a few good, I would have to go back and research their other projects. I think it was called More or something. I don't know how well that did. I know Stepan ended up getting a bunch of kickback or flack or FUD. But the indicators are saying, hey, and if the team has still been producing for this long, there could be something here. This to me is not enough strength for me to go, I want to get in. Not at all.
So 22 Targaryen says, so every day you would change your trend lines on the new finished candle. But I feel like that wouldn't make a lot of sense because then you wouldn't be able to wait for the retest.
On your daily, yeah, but
I know.
you
That's
want it
how
to
we
play
feel.
out. Like, you want it to play out, right? Like if you just kept ting ting ting, you wouldn't know, right? But yeah, if it's continuing to do that, like here we had our that's a so here we're on the daily. Are you okay if I leave the weekly still on, or would you like me to remove the weekly?
If you're asking me, it's fine to leave it, but I'm
More
waiting for
Targaryen. Yeah, if
um,
she's still watching.
she's laughing and saying, "Oh my god," which I totally agree. Right with you. But you would use that. Are we on the daily now? So you would use that localized high right there, and then go.
Yeah,
I
and
guess it all
then
depends on
now,
when you've done it, though.
yeah, I mean, like this is where I said it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You can go back to this day. You know, if you wanted to continue to see how far this triangle really gets to, this is where this is where it's going to blow your mind out. The further we go back,
These are the weeklies. These are the weekly things I do sometimes, just to see where they're bouncing up and down on that triangle. Because I want to see if that's more of a longer, certain things are longer holds than shorter.
so strength comes from and this is hard to do on this screen, sorry. Strength comes from the longer back you take your data. Okay. So on the daily, by going back further in time, this is still what's all left for the ups and downs in this triangle. That's if it can continue this uptrend. If it can't, it pretty much looks like somewhere in here is your support and resistance. So we can even take this one away and say, now we have all this space in here to try to test out to break this. We know there's going to be lots of ups and downs in here. I wouldn't play this token for a long game. I don't play a lot of tokens for the long game. So the further we go out gives us more historical data moving forward. Like I said, that's where it doesn't matter to some degree where you go to. Because I can look for a localized breakout right here. There's parallel channels within parallel channels within parallel channels.
That's the vortex.
Consolidation rectangles, consolidation rectangles, consolidation rectangles. The question now becomes, how long do you want to hold this? How long are you hoping to get out of this with profit? You know, and then when we got our indicators now at this for Confluence, it does look like we're coming up to this cross here. It does look like we want to start walking up this way on the daily. But we know there's going to be these stops and ups and downs along the way. It's not going to go zip right here. So these stops along the way will pretty much probably, you know, come back, maybe some pull down, you know, and it's going to bounce around in here for a long time. Because we know, we know to break this downward trend, we have to come out above it, retest, and then off. Does that look like on this trend we're anywhere near that? No.
That's going to bring you into June.
Right. On average, you know,
Yeah.
it could take a piece of news to take off. But when we look at the statistical probability, and that's what I play, we can say this is going to take some time and effort to get over this line, but that's where we're fighting to. Absolutely. And I would be waiting for that retest on this daily or the cross before I would enter to take off, because I like to preserve that little extra. I mean, it looks like it's coming. Absolutely. You know, and there isn't, I mean, what is the risk reward?
You're teasing us with this again this week.
Only so many hours in a day. I wish there were more to help. That's huge. A possible gain of 50.43 to a loss of 11.24. That's a ratio of 4 to 4.49. I don't expect you to know that yet. That's massive. That's massive. But the risk could also be, you know, down to there, down to there. But if we're getting that bull, good indication that we're going to be going up to at least in some of these areas for sure. And 1.45 is good.
Did you know that you did about 11 plus coins tonight?
No, I did not, but my brain is definitely fried. I do know that.
We've gone 15 minutes
Um,
over time, my friend. 15
yeah,
minutes over.
wow. Definitely.
That was, you did good. That was definitely a marathon for you.
So we do have, it's really been easy for me not to be a sheep because I cashed out in profits. And if that's off, means I'm not trading and I'm working for stuff for you guys. And the crypto Katie, all things are on par,
I'm
on
fucking
course.
killing it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Got into a coin, that SNX, which sounds like snacks to me, so which is why I chose it. And I think I was just under 4%, just under 4. So, and I, again, in bed this morning, I decided to get out. So, not bad, my friend. Not bad at all.
Well, it has been a slice, a long one. I will have some teasers of entries like we just found on the show before. I am digging for some new ones for coming up for people in the Discord where they'll be posted. That's hopefully to be coming in the next day or two as I find them. I was taking my day to make sure our list was in the right different exchanges. As you know, if you've gone through that, it takes a while to go through our list and see which ones are on your exchanges. And if they're not, what other exchanges they are. That is now finally done. So the days to me coming up are the hunt, which means I will probably do another live stream on the hunt. And with that, I've talked enough. I will say goodnight. The Crypto Katie, do you have anything to say?
Oh my God. No, now I have to go. I found some coins and entries, so I'm pretty stoked to go check those out. And I hope you guys have something to go on tonight. So,
Sweet.
Pope, you did a good job. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Thanks. Let's
Peace,
do
peace.
it.
Later, later.